Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Speak, Film, and Enter, a podcast where we review and rank movies. I'm Nate.
And I'm Adam.
And today we are talking about Past Lives, the new romance movie from A24, which was a big hit at Sundance and has slowly been creeping into more and more theaters over the past few weeks. It's been a slow release. It feels like they're adding like one screen per day. It almost seems like,
which is it's good, it's progress, but it's also for one of the best movies of the year, or purportedly the best movies of the year. It's not big enough quickly enough. So
yeah, it's an interesting strategy because I guess if they're kind of trying to not dive into this too. You okay over there?
Yeah, it's been a weird day, and as I took the cup away, it splashed and it hit me in the eye. So
okay, so we're off to a great start.
It's been one of those days, guys.
Yeah.
So I hope you at home are not having a day like me. But sorry, keep going.
Yeah, wherever I was. Instead of kind of dropping it into a million, thousands of theaters in one weekend and seeing how it goes, they're kind of slowly giving us like that sort of slow leak. What I guess one thing that does is it kind of keeps the movie and the movie's release in the public consciousness for longer, or at least that's what it can do. It can also I can see people hearing good things about it and, for maybe 2-3 weeks in a row, checking if it's finally coming to a theater near them. And just saying nope, and then just kind of throwing their hands up in the air and saying, screw it, I'll stop checking. Maybe it'll be on streaming in like a month.
Yes. However, maybe if this gets nominated for anything, late in the year, people go like, oh yeah, I remember that was around for a really long time. So hopefully, also I think this mirrors a little bit of the movie, because the movie is a very long, slow burn. I shouldn't say long, but it's a slow burn the whole way through. So, maybe keep it around. Maybe see what's up.
Yeah. With that in mind, would you like to tell the people what Past Lives is about?
Absolutely. Nora and Hae-sung, two deeply connected childhood friends, are wrested apart after Nora's family emigrates from South Korea. 20 years later, they are reunited for one fateful week as they confront notions of love and destiny.
Okay. So this also, I think, has a really good trailer if you've seen it. I think it sucked me right in. I know you're not a trailer guy. In fact, we saw it at a screening of an old David Lynch movie a couple nights ago, and you hadn't seen the trailer yet, and you were just kind of like, oh, and you got a little upset that you saw the trailer.
Yeah, I did. I turned to you and I said, like, well, I'm going to like that. But I was like, this is why I don't want to see trailers, is because now I know I'm going to like it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, perfect. That's right up my alley. Like,
it definitely is. And it's something that I saw kind of the first weekend it rolled out here, like 2-3 weeks ago. So it's a little fresher in your mind. But I mean, right off the bat, I can definitely just say I loved this movie. It reminded me a lot in some ways, and also one of the ways because it's the directorial debut of The Farewell, where just a really, like, The Farewell being just a really beautifully told family story with just an addition of culture that I'm not familiar with. And this being a really beautiful romantic movie with just kind of an addition of some cultural aspects that I'm not familiar with. And they were both directorial debuts that just feel so assured. I mean, if this was made by somebody and I learned that this was like their 12th movie, I'd say, yeah, of course it is. They're just
put together well. Like,
it's borderline flawless. And it's just so confident in itself, particularly with a structure that is a little different than normal. It's almost kind of like if you took Linklater's Before trilogy and just like mashed them into one movie.
Yeah.
Where those are 9 years apart, 3 different movies. And this is told in 3 different parts, 12-year gaps.
Yep.
So when they're 12, 24, and 36, which I think are really good ages to choose for a story like this.
Yeah, I like
kind of the end of kind of one part of your youth, and like you're just about a teenager, so that sort of end of adolescence kind of age, which a lot of you can form really strong connections at that age. Yeah. Kind of the beginning of when you're starting to feel like you're growing up.
Yep.
And then 24, a lot of people just right out of college, you're sort of the beginnings of adulthood.
Yep.
And then 36 is when you kind of, you and I aren't there yet. We got a few years to go, but that's really when I think you get to like 40s right around the corner, and you're sort of firmly settled into kind of, this is who I am.
This is what
at least a lot of people are.
Yep.
And you're no longer like a young adult anymore. You're just an adult. And so I like that this movie picks those 3 ages. Most of what you see in the trailer is from sort of the first and third sections of this movie.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of the middle.
But... yeah, which I was curious to see how long that would be and sort of the direction that would take. And I enjoyed that part as well. I mean, I think kind of what everybody's going to be going to the theater for and waiting for is when they meet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of what the trailer is and what the story is kind of built around. And they use a nice framing device at the beginning, I think, where it sort of starts in what would be when they're in their 30s, when they're all at a bar.
Yep.
And there's kind of some onlookers wondering who these 3 people are to each other, because it's
and what their relationship to each other is.
3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of, it's a little bit of people watching, and there's some tongue in cheek in there, but there's also some realness to it as well, and some truth to just kind of looking at these 3 people, an Asian man, an Asian woman, and a white man sitting at a bar at 3 o'clock in the morning, and just kind of thinking like, who are they?
Yeah. Why?
And how did this
they get
come?
Here? Yeah.
How did this come to be? Which is just sort of a fascinating way to start. And then it jumps back and it's fully chronological from there on, with a few little like flashback snippets when one of them is like maybe remembering something, but it's a scene that you've already seen before.
Yep.
It's no new information.
Yeah.
And to structure a movie like that for your first movie and have it work and just never feel like the director is sort of unsure. She's confident in where she can linger and sort of like, and just seems to know, okay, we've been here long enough.
Yeah.
We can wrap this up. But I'm particularly impressed with how much breathing room she gives the second part of the movie, simply because, with people going into the movie, that their expectations are mostly going to be for when they physically get back together again.
Yeah.
And to kind of hold that back and make people wait and be confident enough in your actors and in the script and in your ability to convey like how these 2 people are feeling at this part of their lives is just incredibly impressive to me.
It feels almost that like she's speaking from personal experience, like she's directing from personal experience. Yes. Like this something like this happened to her or somebody who's very close to her, and she's just retelling that story because it is so well put together. She knows, if this story was told to her, she knew where that person left breaks or said, all right, well, this is the more important thing. This is the more interesting part. And there's some like stuff in the middle that like, we talked or we didn't talk, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But this is where we need to, this is where I felt this. And this is where I really questioned that, or, those types of things. And I think it really pays dividends. The middle part of the movie, or the second part of the movie rather, is kind of the most romantic part of it, even though it feels almost shorter, because it's not as quote unquote interesting, even though it is the most interesting part.
Well, it's less cinematic.
It's the reconnection, I should say. So
I did look up. I do believe that this is semi-autobiographical.
Okay.
So, and I feel like a story like this, not that it has to be, but for it to be such a strong debut, I think it has. It feels like something that, of course, she's pulling from real life here, because the story's so real.
Yeah.
And the characters are so real, and she cares so much about all of them, which I think really comes through. And I just, in my little Letterboxd quote unquote review, or like little blurb that I wrote after I saw it, I was just kind of marveling at how is it the director, Celine Song?
Yep.
that Celine Song gave us a movie just about three, like it's a love triangle with three emotionally intelligent adults.
Yeah, finally. Fucking A.
There's no character here, or even like really just character moment where somebody does something almost unbelievably stupid or like rash or inappropriate or whatever you want to use. Nobody does that thing that always kind of moves the story forward and like sort of manufactures conflict.
Yeah, in like any rom-com or some movies where it's like all you have to do is have a conversation with the other character and you can solve the movie and it can be over right now, and that never happens. And in this movie, we don't even get to that point. It's finally written as if like, yeah, we understand that they're adults. Like they're going to handle things like adults.
Yeah, and
it's
especially
so refreshing.
Especially the like, you know, Hae Sung, who's played by Yoo Teo, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, who, by the way, was in Decision to Leave.
Yep.
Any one of these characters really at any point, I guess, could do something dumb.
Yeah.
And like John Magaro's character, Arthur, her husband in part 3 of the movie, who she meets in part 2, he's just a really good actor. And he shows up in a lot of stuff that I really like. He was in First Cow and Carol and The Big Short and another Kelly Reichardt movie that came out this year, Showing Up. He's just in a lot of smart stuff, and his character works really well here too. And they all just play off of each other so well, and everybody just kind of gets it.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he's able to play a character who understands and respects why his wife would have an attachment to this other man.
Yeah.
And he just kind of is comfortable enough to just sort of let that breathe and let her explore it. Yeah, and she's understanding as well about like, I know I'm doing this. I don't quite understand why. Is this going to bother you?
Yeah. Well, I don't think he's comfortable with it, but he's come to terms with it. And I think those are that's an important distinction.
Projects or attempts to project comfort with it, and he's respectful of it, even if there are. It does sort of bubble up almost to the surface at times, and that's just a testament to his performance. I think I do like that point where to say he's fully on board is maybe
he's not on board at all. He's aware that this could go south on him very quickly.
Right. But I mean,
he doesn't betray that to her.
A couple things. He trusts and respects his wife. And I think he's also smart enough to know that like attempting to hold her back here is not going to help anybody, him included.
Yeah.
It's just something that he sees that she needs to explore, and wherever that goes is where it's going to go. But he doesn't, his choices are limited. So he just sort of takes the mature approach.
Yeah. He just tries to be the bigger person as much as he can, even though he absolutely like hates that this could turn into something he doesn't, that doesn't benefit him in any way.
Right. And there's a really great scene between him and Hae Sung where they actually talk to each other when she kind of steps out of the room at one point.
Yeah.
And I like that scene a lot. The actors do a great job. And there's just sort of a mutual understanding between them. Like they both know that the other, obviously Arthur's married to her.
The other position of the other man.
But they both know that each of them is in love with this woman. And Arthur, obviously he understands why. They both understand why. Like, look at her. She's stunning, and Greta Lee's performance is fantastic, and she just really pulls you in. She's so smart and kind of playful at times, and also just very independent, which is also an independent and
confident
quality. Yeah.
She knows exactly what she's doing, like, or seemingly knows what she's doing at all times. And for
until he comes back into her life.
Until he comes back into her life, like
kind of upends this different life that she's built for herself, and also in many ways a different version of herself than he probably sees, and that she would have turned into had she stayed back in Korea. So in that way, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the movie Brooklyn with Saoirse Ronan from like 2016.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. I still haven't seen that, but
it's one of my favorite movies of the 2010s, and there is a bit of a who you are here versus who you were back there, and kind of one guy on each side of it. Yeah. And it becomes more about choosing the kind of person that she wants to be, because that movie and this movie, you can see her living a happy life with either of them.
Yeah.
Which I also think Worst Person in the World does very well as well.
It does too.
It's more about who she wants to be than necessarily which one of them does the right or wrong thing.
Yeah. As you were talking about that, it reminded me a little bit of the old Nicolas Cage movie, The Family Man, where he is like, he's a middle-aged guy who's got like the nice car, works a great job, wears a suit to work, is like super successful, but like doesn't have anything else. And then something happens where he's like transported to if like a world where if he had stayed with like his high school sweetheart or college sweetheart, something like that, and like he wakes up in bed and they're like kids all over him, and he's like,
oh, that's
and like panics, and like I forget who else is in it, but and then he lives out his life as if he had children and stay with that woman. And then it's kind of that same thing. It's a little bit more drastic because it's being solo versus having a family. But
are you sure you're not thinking of Peggy Sue Got Married?
I'm almost positive,
because in Peggy Sue Got Married, Peggy Sue travels back in time to like the week leading up to her prom, and wonders if she had chosen things differently. And Nicolas Cage is in that movie. If that's a different movie,
it's The Family Man.
Oh my god! He's in 2 movies that have like that plot. That's insane.
It's directed by Brett Ratner too, which is really funny.
Oh my god! Peggy Sue Got Married is a Francis Ford Coppola movie, which is pretty good.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, now, I feel like you need to check it out just because you've seen that other one. And
I think we need to do like a double feature, you and I.
Maybe.
Because that's hilarious. Like I didn't know. I've heard of Peggy Sue Got Married, but I didn't know what it was about or anything like that. So yeah, that kind of reminds me of that. And this one is obviously a little bit. It's more focused on her, on Nora, or Na Young, as her Korean name is, and less about kind of the other people in it. But it still focuses a lot on the other 2 characters and their emotions and how they have to navigate this situation and the decisions they make, or kind of the decisions they feel they have to live with. Because in the second part of the movie, there's a scene where Hae-sung just has to kind of like accept things the way they are. And it's not unfair, but it's not exactly fair. You know what I mean? Like it's gray area, and that's what this whole movie is. Like
that's a lot of what this is about. Is it's just kind of the doors you choose to go through, and sort of a realization that you're happy with this door. That doesn't mean that other doors could not have also been good.
Yeah.
So I think really, really fascinating movie. You want to get into the stars?
Sure. Let me pull up our little thing here, and we'll be right back with our star ratings.
Okay.
Right. Welcome back. I think I'll start if that's okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start, and I'm going to give this movie. I'll throw it up. I'm going to give this movie 4.
Okay.
I want to give it more, but my main issue, and not issue because that's not the right word, but it's not that the ending is bad, because the ending is very, very good. I was just slightly disheartened by it. You know what I mean?
Sure. It didn't necessarily go the way.
It didn't make me feel like happy and good inside. It was just maybe like, oh, that's what happens, and that's how it goes. And it's not the wrong choice. It's not a bad choice, whatever it is that happens. I was just left a little saddened by it.
Yeah.
For kind of every character, like everyone wants love, and not all of them have it. You know what I mean? It's a complicated emotion, and that's really the only reason I can give this a 4, because I didn't absolutely love it. I loved almost every second of it.
Yeah.
But if I watch it again, it's probably going to go up to a 4.5. I just was like, does this hit me as truly, deeply, like greatly as I want it to? Not 100%, but everything else about this movie is top tier.
Yeah.
So it probably deserves to be a 4.5, but maybe I'm just too close to it right now. Having
watch it again and find out.
Exactly. So, but that's where I'm at. So hopefully if you guys see it, you think it's a 4 as well. It's well made. So
I showed the trailer to my dad, and it ended, and he just said, "Well, one of these people is going to have their heart broken."
Yeah, I mean that's the point, right?
So I thought that was an interesting, just sort of quick take on the trailer.
Yeah.
I'm giving this a 4.5 because I
Okay.
do think the ending is the correct ending, and I love the way that it's executed. There's also something I wanted to bring up where this is mostly more so like how the trailer starts. They're in Seoul, and there's something that, because I watch a lot of Korean movies, and I feel like in a lot of them that take place in Seoul, there's a shot where the stairs and the power lines.
Yeah.
They almost all have
as
that.
I saw the trailer, I was like, "Oh, look it."
Yeah. And it's become, I've like come to associate those two things with Seoul and just like South Korean cinema in general. It's one of the coolest shots in Parasite.
Yep.
I think when I can't name them off the top of my head. I'm sure there's one like in Burning, but many South Korean movies that take place in Seoul, there's just, I don't know if it's the way they have the power lines set up there, if it's like an intentional thing.
Yeah.
But I've started to notice it, and I noticed it at the beginning of this trailer as well. And it's almost come to just say to me, like, that image just means I'm going to like this movie.
Yeah. I mean, regardless of whether or what it means in each of those films, or what the symbolism is in the stairs in each of those movies, it plays a part, and it's like an important. It's an important.
I don't know. It's like a little stamp for me.
Yeah.
That I've just come to really appreciate, partly because I just kind of see them so many times. But
yeah,
this is my favorite movie of 2023 so far.
Okay.
I mean, I've got a few other 4s in there. I like it. The ending, I think, is what really cements it for me because it went to where it needed to go, and it wraps up in, I think, such a powerful way. And there are also like, I saw this like 3 weeks ago, so I can't remember them specifically, but there are like 4 or 5 lines in this movie that are just like all-timers, and like all-time, you get a tattoo of them, or just like right to the heart, just instantly.
Yeah. They cut to the quick.
Parts of the dialogue in this are like poetry almost. It's a beautiful movie, and one that I would recommend for everybody to see.
Yeah, when they when she is talking to one of the characters about Inyeon, which is a Korean term that if you see the movie you'll like. I'm not going to spoil it or anything.
It's in the trailer too.
It's in the trailer. That's even like a neat little, like, ooh, that's really cool. Kind of just like, ooh, that touches you.
Yeah,
that makes you feel something, and you go, oh, that's neat. And then the way that's kind of, there's a kind of like a joke in there as well. It's just kind of, it's cute all over. Like everything about this movie is like heartbreaking but heartwarming. You know,
absolutely.
Yeah, it balances it really well, and I love the fact that it's a directorial debut. I can't wait to see what she does next. Obviously, this just came out, so it's
right.
But yeah, I'm gonna watch for these other actors as well. Greta Lee be playing Nora, and Tae Yo as Hae Sung, because I'm sure they'll pop up again. So excited!
All right, 4 stars from Adam, 4.5 from me. Anything else? Otherwise, I think it's your turn to put a wrap on the show.
It is. You want to take us out after that?
Yep.
All right. You lost today, kid, but that doesn't mean you have to like it.